We ask strangers about what they think about Christians, and today we're going to react to them.
Fake kindness?
I don't know how you could believe in that.
Don't really know many Christians.
There was actually a couple of conversations I had with people on the street that did say that.
Be open to conversations with people that are different to you.
I think a lot of the public's opinions on Christians is just like, Christianity isn't real and that they're like delusional and that it's inherently like bad.
So what do you think, in your opinion, that Christians are known for?
Fake kindness.
I've found some that are
Fake kindness?
That's sad.
Actually kind of
Do you think it could be the case that it's like, obviously we want people to know Jesus, that in that our agenda, is that we be fake kind to get them to know Jesus? Because they're still not being authentic in your kindness. That kindness should be natural. People can tell when you're being fake.
I was going to say, people can tell.
I mean, that's a fair point. I've
is.
had some fake Christians where they're trying to be nice. I'm like, oh, there's an agenda here. But fair enough. We can do better, all of us.
truly amazing, and some that are extremely narrow in their views. It's a whole gamut of...
Narrow in their views.
That's a good one. But I like that it shows the gamut. They said there's the gamut. With every person or group, if you want to say, there's the gamut that you get, these different people, because we're all different within that. I think if someone is a Christian and they're a jerk, well, I don't think they're a jerk because they're a Christian. I think they were a jerk before they're a Christian and they haven't dealt with that, you know?
Right.
Of it there. No.
Human, the whole gamut of human experience is involved with Christians.
I like that.
Well, not fake. I mean, very they're known to be quite welcoming and friendly and all good and stuff, but with a very dark, I don't know, strict set of rules. We'll be nice to you on these, conditions,
Taking their religion
nice to you on certain things. I mean, I'd hope as Christians that we're, nice with everyone. There's because all of us are coming to Jesus with a mess, and we're like, Jesus, you see my mess, you love me. How Paul talks about, who am I, the greatest of all the sinners, the chief of all the sinners. Then we all come with a mess to Jesus, and none of us are holier or righteouser, more righteous. Yes, Jesus makes us holy and righteous, but that's not for us to gloat and lord that over people,
I just think it highlights to make sure that we are looking at what we're doing every place that we are in our world and
people
work,
watch,
home. People do watch, and I think there is grace for us not being perfect, but also just realizing, we are the hands and feet of Jesus, and people are watching, and if we're fake, we're being authentic, and I think that's what it comes down to. But also people's experience too.
religion seriously.
Just believing in God.
Don't really know many Christians.
Very modest and very respectful.
Well, I'm a Christian. We're just known for just being kind, caring people.
They don't try and throw it in your face. They're quite chilled.
I see. They don't throw in your face. There was actually a couple of conversations I had with people on the street that did say that.
Yeah.
And did say that we weren't forceful. Yeah. Which again, it just encouraged me to be like, do I think about this too much when I'm wanting to approach someone with a conversation that they think this, and this, and therefore I stop myself from having that conversation because I'm thinking, oh, but they're going to think this and this about me, or they think Christianity looks like this, but actually,
and as soon as
but actually, as the conversations kept going throughout the day, I saw that more and more that people were actually saying, they don't force, they are kind. And there was a positive to that. So I think sometimes I can stop myself from having those conversations because of the thoughts that build up in my mind.
And I think it's also the thing that, 100% people have had forceful Christians. There are a handful of that there. But I think the vast majority of Christians, I truly believe, are God-fearing, loving, kind people, salt of the earth and all that, and unfortunately, sometimes in any case, it's a few bad apples that, can spoil it for it there. And that's a sad, if that's the media's perception of Christian, or whatever that, forefront narrative is of Christians, that no, that's not what the true gospel is, because we know what the true gospel and what the true, hands and feet of Jesus looks like.
Yes.
They'll respect your views as well. It's not they're correct and that's it. They're open to knowing your thoughts.
They're open to knowing your thoughts.
Oh, we are correct.
See, again,
Sorry.
This is the first reaction from people in the street. We sometimes can just think that they don't think the way, that Christians actually are, but
part of the community, aren't they? And so are we. So
I think it depends on who you ask, but I've always had really good relationships with friends that are Christians.
I like
I've always been
that.
very giving and always very open to accepting other people, no matter how they are, and making sure they just want the best for them.
I don't know. Probably not great things. I think there's stereotypes negatively.
Like what would some of those be?
Oh, I don't know. I guess sometimes people think they're like pushy or something, I guess, that they force everyone to believe in that. I don't think that's true.
And obviously we live in a pretty like secular society. So I think a lot of the public's opinions on Christians is just like, you know, Christianity isn't real and that they're like delusional and that it's inherently like bad.
Are you delusional?
I don't know, am I?
Sometimes. Delulu. Depends on the day.
I wake up.
Which I don't think is true.
Again, I don't think it's true.
They say something from the world's point of view, not personalized, and then they say, I don't think it's true.
Yeah.
There's like this need of, I want to connect.
Yeah.
But I just don't think.
Well, it sounds like there's this narrative and stereotypes of what Christians are, but when people actually meet Christians and actually talk with us, it's like, hey, you're a normal person.
Right.
Like, you just love Jesus in the moment. Well, not in the moment in your lifetime. You just love Jesus. Like, you're not the stereotype of who I thought you were going to be, you know?
Exactly. And when they're
just so refreshing and good.
Which I think for me, it encourages me as a Christian to be more open to conversations with people. And I think it looks different as well. When you're in person with somebody, eye to eye, listening to them, they see that firsthand, not a text message, not a social media thing.
Yeah.
They're seeing it. What Jesus actually did was in person.
Yes!
And so it does break down the stereotypical walls of what a Christian actually looks, sound, and feel like in person.
Fire!
So.
Wow, that was good.
It depends who you ask as well. You ask someone who's Christian, they'll be like, oh, we're all loving and accepting and we're perfect.
I ain't perfect. I can tell you that much.
I wake up trying to look perfect, but ain't.
Well, keep trying. Jokes.
Oh, kind of that one out.
And we're perfect. Well, not perfect, but yeah. And then you ask someone who's very like against religion, they'll be like, oh, toxic, forces religion, all that stuff.
Do you think that Christians are relatable?
No, not at all. I guess.
No.
I don't know. As relatable as any other person.
Yeah, you can find anyone relatable.
Again, it depends who. I mean,
I think if you're breathing and you're on Earth, you have the same what body of a human.
Yeah.
You can be relatable.
You can find anything to relate with someone.
Absolutely.
Regardless.
in the sense that you're super lost and you're trying to find something to believe in. I mean, but most of them won't like admit that's the reasoning behind it. But no, I don't find it relatable. I don't know how you could believe in that.
In terms of Christianity, no, because I'm not one. But
fair.
I don't know, it depends who they are.
For the most part, yes.
Well, I think there's a lot of stereotypes, but Christians are just normal, everyday people.
Normal, everyday people.
Exactly.
Yes. The other part, what would you say?
I think that some of them can be pretty closed off to thoughts of other beliefs and...
Interesting.
Which I can agree with in the sense of, as Christians, as believers, you know, we may see someone that obviously, you know, is different to us by the way they dress or whatever, and we think, oh, well, they don't want to talk, you know, about Jesus. So we're then closed off, and we also then form our own stereotypes on another person that we don't think, oh, well, they're not worth the time talking to. You know, it's the same way that actually, hey, we can be open-minded in the sense of like, hey, talk to anyone, you know, talk to people, you know, but obviously not taking on beliefs that are contradictory, but be open to conversations with people that are different to you. Yes. You know, don't stay in this little Christian bubble.
Talk to a human.
Yeah.
You know, they're very much like, this is Christianity is the only way, which is respect for them, but just not how I personally feel.
As a Christian, I'd say yeah.
Oh, good. You got friends, yeah? They're relating to you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what religion you are, you can be accepted or be accepted by anyone.
I like that. It doesn't matter what religion you are, you can be accepted.
Yeah, as a human being, 100%.
But it's just interesting that these conversations that we had, it's the response of people of, oh, I didn't realize he was going to say that. And then he did. And it then, you know, encouraged me to be like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Just a conversation.
Yeah.
You're just talking to a
You
human.
can just talk.
You can relate because we are all relatable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what's interesting is coming up there that you've got these two sides of, you know, the coin here, that it's the one side of Christians aren't relatable, and then the other side that, oh no, they are relatable. And what's that gap in between that's stopping that? I reckon it comes down to people's experiences of Christians that you get, ones there that they just aren't relatable in the sense of like, it begs the question of, well, how do we live our lives? Are we living that, on a high horse and holier than thou that people are like, oh, they're untouchable. They're floating on a cloud 24/7. But like being real in the sense of, hey, I've put my faith and trust in Jesus, but there's still struggles in my day to day that I'm a human being. Yes, I've been, set apart for something greater and Jesus has his hand on my life and all that, but still being relatable and human in the sense,
as you're a Christian.
100%. Staying true to that, but human.
Yeah, and bridging that gap between the two stereotypes of like, it's just so far from different scales that we see in conversations that people are telling us. It's either or, but it's actually, how can we translate that then as a Christian, and how can we live our life to be, to be just a human being, but also still love Jesus, and 100%. People see that and experience it and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And I think a practical way of what we can do, to live that out, it's, if you're getting to know someone and like, with faith and all that, it's not like the first time you meet, you're like, come to church, 100%, if the Lord puts that in your heart, come to church. But, it could just be, hey, you want to grab a coffee?
Absolutely.
Do you want to, if you both are into running, hey, do you want to go for a run? It's doing life with people and making them essentially put their guards down that realize, oh, like, I know so-and-so, I'm getting to know them, or flip, that when they invite me to church and they talk about Jesus, like, oh, you're a normal human being, as you would talk about your family, you're talking about your faith.
Exactly. And being so genuine, people can tell that when you're 100%. Doing it.
A bit of both. I think it depends on the person. Definitely
depends on the person.
And just be, as Nikki said, someone who's a little closed off and not really wanting to accept new things.
Some opinions from the church are a little bit outdated and not up to date with today's society.
That of like outdated of what we think and what our opinions are. Like, are we as Christians, not again, we're living in this world and we believe in Jesus, but also keeping up to date of like what's happening around us. Don't be blinded by things. And again, that comes down to how we live our life, and as a human and as a young adult or whatever stage you're in life, of just.
I think it's the thing of, how we said earlier of living, in the world, but not for the world and of the world. With that there, it's knowing what's going on in the world that we live in. How can we relate to a world that Jesus places in, to care for people, to love for people when we don't know, the struggles that people are facing on their day-to-day life, not to then say, oh, we need to be consumed by, the world and all that, but knowing, hey, if something's happening in, whatever society's good, that, hey, we can care for you and we can bridge that gap to come to know Jesus.
Yeah.